Ah, yes.
So in the Egyptian term, it would be a cartouche, and that's a holder for information. And ideally, that's what we're doing in these large visuals, is we're creating a container that resonates with the ideas inside. So cognitively, they'll be associated, and that is our own little memory palace for storing a lot of information. Highly visual people will actually do that.
Okay, now, I know one thing that both of us share is that we both love dancing.
Yes, we do.
So, Eileen, people have called you an information dancer. What's that all about?
Well, it's my favorite term for the job, but this is this part here. In the mural, we had to have the dancers. Somebody's catching a star from the Milky Way brain. So this idea is that our bodies know how to draw, and that when we think we're doing visual communication, but it's really kinetic communication when it's at this scale, read visually. So let's do an experiment.
Okay.
Okay, so if I were to say to you, the flow of the conversation's going well, show me a flow, what would you do? Exactly, like a hula or the mudras, hand movements, and that's what it would be. Everybody knows that's flow. Let's think of another one. What if you're really excited and happy? Yay, victory, what would you do?
Well, I'm thinking of my husband's happy engineer dance, which goes like this.
It's always the hands, right? And they're going up. So we have people up like this. You know that they're well. So yes, they're happy, they're well. So what if you were very upset? You had to make a big point. What would you do? There would be something sharp.
Yeah.
So we have sharp movements on it. We don't have any here, but everybody would know that. A big check, or an arrow, something sharp. So really what I like to think of this as is talking with our hands and leaving a mark. So when I say to people, anybody can do this, they really can if they stop thinking, because our bodies will automatically speak this language of shape.
Wow.
Very powerful. And children do it all the time. In fact, when we train people to do this, we actually have them do the hokey pokey. It's really very physical. Now, how does that affect a boardroom? I mean, as you know, I sit with the top leaders of many organizations, and we don't dance really in the room all the time, not often. But the reason that I think this kinetic piece works is that it taps into our emotions. Yes. I think that the feelings that we have are expressed physically often, right? And if I'm in the room and it's, people are sitting around a board table and I'm capturing things in something like this, it does tap into and capture and express some of the emotion or the feelings. If people are not cohesive or if they are coming together, you'll see that on the mural. So I think that there is that physicality is actually a connection to our humanness and our emotions.
So this is reminding me of a meeting that we were just at a couple of weeks ago, and I was facilitating a table, and the table was covered with paper.
Oh, yes.
And we were asking people to introduce themselves, and they were asked to draw a spider diagram with you in the center and who you're connected to, your family, your community, your college, or whatever. And then we went round and said, tell us about yourself, and show the little picture. And then she said, I find myself always in meetings and we never stand up. That's why I was thinking about it. And anyway, I said, okay, everyone, stop. And there was like 10 people around the table. I said, stand up. And then we did a yoga exercise. But then after we stood up, we stayed up. And we put our little spider diagrams and we put it on the table. And then we started to draw lines between them so that we could see our connections.
Yeah.
And we were the only table that started to do this. Now it turns out 2 weeks later, our table is more connected and there's more phone calls between us. Yes.
Wow.
The physical connection of moving around and drawing those lines and saying, oh, wow, you have a pet named, Prince. Those things mattered in a kind of way that I wouldn't have predicted.
I'm so glad you told me that, because that's part of my research is what happens when we can engage people in doing their own visuals. Of course, it's great to be in there kind of channeling the room and imagining, because I was a news reporter for so many years, the job is to be the observer and try to get the objective view, even if it's a visual. But what if people were each sharing their subjective views? And that's the research I'm doing next. So you've already got some data for me, it sounds like.
Yeah, because we were just comparing notes on what was happening with there are several tables, and the response of the other people's tables wasn't as strong as the ones where we all got up and we started all drawing lines between our connections.
That's my theory, that it really will engage people more deeply if we can get them to, if we can draw them out literally.
So let's shift the discussion to, you know, I've just described something where the visuals really made a difference in a practical aspect where we were trying to engage people to work on a project together. How practically can people use these visuals? What ways have you seen?
Well, the most frequent is a vision statement where you're trying to get a group of people aligned behind where they're going to go next. And it has to be something big and out of reach so that there's a little bit of an enchantment and excitement when they have a visual picture, a one-page picture of here's where we're going and the steps to get there. That's one way that we use it. Another way is when people are just sharing ideas, like we talk about the ideation phase, and we might have the way out ideas way out there in the Milky Way, and then the grounded ideas on the ground. So we're actually showing how people's ideas fit together. But let's go further with this now, and let's think about organizations. You don't have an expert or a professional, and you don't need one. You put this up on the wall and have people sort of almost like graffiti. You know, what are you thinking? What fits together? Have people play with that. And in families and with children, to let them come and do their information dancing and so they can see their ideas shown, and mom and dad can put their ideas up. Like you said about the spider diagram, people start seeing their ideas connected. The power of it is that we're all kind of in our heads a lot of times, these big separate heads with these little connections between them. The visuals really open that up. And instead of looking at each other, people begin looking at their ideas together and how they fit together. So there are many practical ways to use this, both ourselves in an informal way and in a highly formal way. If we create, for example, a new vision or a strategy for a company, and everybody then has it on their screen or they have a poster, everybody's literally on the same page.
On the same page.
On the same page.
Wow. So it's very, very powerful, this visual language that you've introduced us to. Could you sum it up for us, for what we've covered today?
Well, sure. Yes, and everybody has his or her own visual language. So today we talked about what I think are three of the main tools and places of power for visuals, which you helped explain so beautifully. I appreciate that so much. One is in our personal intuition, tapping into the imagination so we can get that aha, really tap into the wellspring of our own creativity. Just drawing pictures, see what comes out of that. Start with the picture instead of the word. The other is then connecting with other people by all putting our ideas together, having somebody do that or doing it together. And then finally,
the dancing.
The dancing.
And on that note, we'll finish. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. That was so fun. Yeah. Wow. What a great conversation.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Maylin.
Oh, the dancing. I didn't get a chance to do my shimmy.
It's not too late, is it? Oh, are we done?
Yeah. So it's terrific.